I'm Josh.
And I'm Jen. Welcome to the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast.
Each episode brings biblical wisdom and practical conversations on parenting, marriage, and family. And we discuss how to disciple the next generation with a biblical worldview.
Whether you're raising children, shepherding a church, or longing to build a legacy of faith in your home, this podcast is for you.
Join us as we explore how to shape hearts, homes, and churches around the gospel, one conversation at a time.
Welcome back to the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast.
Hey everyone, got a good one today.
Today is going to be great.
Because this is a topic every parent has to navigate probably sooner than we think we do.
Every parent has to navigate it, and we weren't navigating it a while ago. So The topic is, we're proposing it in the name of a question. The question is this: when should I give my child a cell phone, or should my child have a cell phone? And I think a lot of parents are asking this. They're asking this question younger and younger. And really, I mean, for those of us who are parenting younger kids, our younger kids want a cell phone, and our older kids, like our college age kids, it wasn't even on the radar. You know, it wasn't even a question we would ask. And so as technology changes, as society changes, we're asking this question a lot. When should I do it? Should they even have one at all? So I think a lot of times parents will ask the question, and then kids will try to justify why they think kids need a cell phone. So have you heard any reasons to justify why parents will say?
Oh yeah, we've had our kids
will say.
We've had our kids try to convince us.
Yes.
I'm sure every parent has this.
I'm sure every kid's got an argument for it.
Yeah, and a lot of parents give reasons as well. And so, I think some of the more common ones, if our children are out of the house for any reason, especially doing academic-y or athletic-y kinds of things, we want to see where they're at, and
we want to track their location.
Track the location, which is convenient.
I will say that is convenient.
It is. It is nice. And we, of course, want to communicate with them.
Yeah, they want to say, if my kid's like on the bus home from whatever game, I want to be able to, know when to pick them up.
There's a ton of peer pressure today.
Yep.
If friends have a phone, they want to get a phone too to be able to communicate with friends. And, it's like, man, if my friend group, everybody's got a phone and I don't, I
want to text my friends. I want to text my friends.
It's a lot of pressure. Yep.
Yeah. So, but really, like giving your child a phone, so like a smartphone, is equivalent to giving them like 20 devices in one. It's a TV, and it's a gaming system, and it's a computer with internet access, and it's a camera, and it's a credit card a lot of times, and a gaming system, and just so many things. I mean, it gives a child the ability to communicate with any person in any location, really worldwide, at the touch of their fingers. And so it is no joke to put a smartphone in the hands of a young child.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that when a child gets a smartphone, essentially their childhood is over.
Yes.
Because it initiates them into an adult world of adult ideas and all kinds of things. That from that moment on, their days are going to be different, because it's going to change them pretty significantly.
It changes them, and it changes the way their brain works. It changes the way that they're thinking and the way that they're learning. Going from like a place of I'm using my brain for creativity and fun and all these things to like I'm letting the screen dictate things to me. So Josh, if we were to answer the question just like frankly, boldly, no like reservation, what would we say? Should you give your child a smartphone? Should we give our child a smartphone? We would say No, we would say no.
With an exclamation
mark. No, and we would be like, yeah, don't do it. High five. Like, let's not. So
we obviously cut across the grain on this one.
Yeah.
That it's not the norm for many people. And So let's talk a little bit about our why. And again, this, like some of the other topics we've talked about on the podcast, we don't want to get legalistic about it.
No.
And this isn't obviously a scriptural issue in the sense of when, but we do think there's wisdom in understanding, what happens when a phone gets into the hands of a child. So, so what age have we landed on giving children a phone, and why?
Yeah. Well, we started out with our oldest giving an iPod. So an iPod at age, what was he, 14?
13.
13, I think.
Yeah, we thought like 13, that's
13, old enough. And so an iPod, then they could, text their friends and like listen to some music. And we learned pretty quick that was not a direction that we were happy with our kids.
It essentially was a smartphone, but without the ability to call.
Without a map,
And a map. Yeah.
And so we learned pretty quickly that came to us that this wasn't a direction that we wanted to go with our kids. We saw that our boys were texting a lot of friends. I think there's this draw to like play video games, time wasting. We listen to a lot of music in our home, a lot of different genres of music in our home. But at that age, I think that our children and all children don't have the discernment to navigate what is best and best practices and best uses and self-control. And so we then kind of backed that up. That was difficult to do. And so once then our kids were driving, then they got an actual smartphone that had a map on it. And so that then when they were now on the roads, they could use the map and we could track their location and things like that along the way.
So for us, it wasn't as much an age thing, although it kind of was. It's more so a responsibility piece.
Yeah.
And so we felt like if a child was responsible enough to drive, to handle, I mean, they're putting their own life in their own hands. If we believe they're responsible to get behind a wheel, they are responsible enough at this point to handle an iPhone. And if you're not responsible enough for one, you're definitely not responsible for the other. And so we've held off on anything younger than 16. Essentially, getting your driver's license is a big deal in our house because it also means
you're going
to get a phone with it. And so we have a whole lot of rules around that, house rules, so that their engagement with their phone at home is up as filtered and positive as can be. But we've still had issues with phone usage, even with a lot of oversight with our children having them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So, here are some things that we recommend if your kids have a cell phone, have a smartphone. For sure, monitor and limit how they use their device. So we have set boundaries about like the amount of time they can use playing games. I don't know why boys love games on the phone. I wonder if girls love that as much. They love games.
Sure, our girls like certain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but like just so that it doesn't become like a time wasting device. Like you hear all these statistics about, and we've said them about the amount of time that young people in America spend on screens per day. And isn't it the average like 7 hours a day or something? I mean,
7 for kids, 9 for teens.
9 for teens. And so it just becomes a tragic number. It becomes just like our kids are going to wake up and realize their childhood, their youth is gone because they used it, playing video basketball. It's like
I would say we have different priorities for our kids than them spending it on the screen. You want them reading and outside and with people and working and serving, and there's just so many better ways to use time. Not that there's not
a place for
them in a limited context, that they do provide some education and entertainment value.
Yeah, a little bit of fun. That's great.
So we're not like, we're not like no screens ever.
No.
But we don't want them to be over, the predominant thing in our kids' lives.
Yeah.
Or ours.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. We also learn how to use the parental controls and content filters. We're Apple people. Apple has really great parental controls through the screen time settings. So you can go on screen time and set essentially like you can, if your child is under 18, you can link their phone to yours. And then you can require a password. You can set content restrictions. You can limit websites. You can do all sorts of things. And so we found that to be helpful. We do that on our family's iPad as well, just for accountability. We want online safety and things along those lines. We have boundaries in our home also about where the devices can be used. So our kids aren't allowed to have cell phones or screens up in their bedrooms. Those things stay in common communal spaces. So in the living room, in the kitchen, on basically the main floor of our house. And that's been really helpful for us, just for, just making sure we're accountable and that we know where screens are going.
Yep. So we have to approve all app downloads at 16. There's no social media allowed until 18. At that point, they can choose if they want to or not. Social media usage completely will transform a child because of the algorithms that are there. It's meant to, the kinds of things kids will see, the pressure that they will get from the affirmation and identity forming stuff. We don't want that in our kids' lives at this point. And so, and there's also the side of things, if they start commenting, whatever goes on the internet goes on the internet forever.
The internet's
There's
forever.
always a footprint of it. And so you make a lot of stupid choices early in life that end up sticking with you if you do things. So we just eliminate all of that from our kids, and we continue to monitor. So encourage, even if there are filters set and controls set and limits put on, don't assume that kids can't find ways around and are always going to follow those. Anything that, a lot of apps and a lot of different things on phones, they have an internet capability to them, so they can get access to the internet, even if they don't have that through the main means on a phone.
On a browser, yeah.
Yeah, so what is it? Spotify has that internet opportunity. And a lot
like
of
a video option.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff. So all that to say, there's like all the immodest stuff, the porn, the yucky stuff that we want to keep away from our kids. We still do need to be very vigilant in this area to make sure it's not found a way through, and so monitoring those kinds of things for our kids.
Yeah. And I would say like that's open conversations. So, I've heard like teens or parents be like, I'm going to take your phone and I'm going to look through your phone and blah, 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 blah. And it's really like negative and it's harsh. But really like our kids know like, oh, like my phone doesn't belong to me. It actually belongs to my parents. And, from time to time they might look at it and I will be there. We're not like taking their device in secret and looking at their device. Like there's always open conversations. If we ever have a concern, we're, all there together. And so there is a give and a take to that. But we're open and honest with communication around the cell phone. Yeah. So, and then also, we just want to talk about like, how are we navigating using the device? Are we being kind with our text messaging, in the photos that we take, in the videos that we take? I have seen, in my years as a teacher, I have seen many a mean girl with the phone. I have seen girls weaponized, with here's an unflattering photo of another girl. And, I've seen so much. And so we just want to make sure that our children are being kind and respectful in the things that they do with their phone. And we're teaching them how to navigate this area of life, navigate this area of communication in a way that a generation prior, it did not exist. It did not exist. When I was in high school, there was no opportunity to take like mean photos of a girl I didn't like, that didn't happen then. And so it's new.
New and different for us, at least. Yeah. Not for all the young parents. Let's take a break to thank Renew Nation, the sponsor of this podcast. If you've benefited from the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast, consider making a tax-deductible donation to Renew Nation today. Your generous donations make this podcast and our work to help children develop a biblical worldview possible. If you've enjoyed the episode, you can support us by leaving a review. This helps the podcast grow and reach more families. Now back to the show.
We did have a Stump Dr. Josh.
Okay, it's time for that segment. Stump Dr. Josh.
Okay, all right. Here it is, Josh. Dr. Josh.
Yes.
Get my papers here. Okay. So, my question I'm going to give to you, I did a little research on this, is this. At what age do children nationally get their first cell phone? So on average,
okay.
What age does a child get their first cell phone?
Do I get options or I just got to guess?
I'm going to say,
I could guess. I mean, it's like 0 to 18.
Yeah,
so
0 to 18.
I got like.
I'm going to call up my notes on this.
I'm going to say, trying to think like 5th grade. I think 5th seems about like 10 years old.
Okay, the answer is 10 years old.
Yeah. I got one right finally.
Wow, Josh. Okay, let me read you this.
Man, I had a bad spell going for
Okay, this is crazy. Okay, so there was an article written by this publication called Education Week. This was July 17th, 2025, and it was titled, How Old Are Kids When They Get Their First Phone, according to a new survey. So the survey was 1,500 11 to 13-year-old kids in Florida, right? So you know how they do all these like school surveys? Okay, so this is one of those. So there's a chart that they provide. It says about 1/3 of kids who had a smartphone got their first device at 10 years old. But 80% of kids by the time they're, let me see the chart here. 80% of kids by the time they are 10 years old have their own smartphone. 80% of those kids.
Yeah.
And 64% of those kids, of the 80%, got their phone before they were 10. So it's like
by 10. It's not at 10.
It's not at 10.
So it's like
by 10.
It's like 8, 9.
Yeah. So like there's this chart here. So like 6% of kids got their phone at age 5, 6, 7, 8% of those kids got their phone at 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. I mean, it's crazy.
Really,
like
yeah.
these are like babies. Like, can they make breakfast for themselves? And yet they have cell phones. I mean, it's crazy. The number of children. So 80% of kids by age 10.
So I will say a phone is like a razor sharp knife.
Mm-hmm.
It is like a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that can be of immense help and value, but it can also do incredible damage to a child.
Yeah.
We would never give a child of that age a razor sharp knife or a gun.
Yeah.
And if we are going to do that as our kids get older, and our kids do have knives and they do use guns. We live on a farm. We have a lot of acreage that they can shoot, but they all have to go through training and safety training. And there's great oversight, and we treat those things with immense caution and care because we know in the blink of an eye, it can be a life-changing thing that happens with those knives, cars, guns. We have a tractor here on our farm. We have four-wheeler. Our neighbor, we don't just let our kids go and drive on the four-wheeler. Until they're a certain age, they need to have a lot of practice and oversight, and they ride with us. Our neighbor just died last year. He flipped his four-wheeler
so sad.
in an accident, and he died. He's a grown man who's lived on a farm his whole life, and tragic, very sad. But cell phones fit into that category for me. That they shape the brain, they shape values and views, they shape who our kids become relationally. They do all kinds of things. It's not innocuous, and so we want to treat them with that level of care.
Yeah.
So you had a book, Jen, that you said is really good.
So there's this book that I would recommend.
Grab yours too. We both
brought it.
It's so good. We each got a copy.
2 copies?
Well, I have one because we're reading it. I'm on the board of Awana, and we're reading this on the board right now.
So funny. We each brought our. Okay, so I saw yours right there, and I literally thought to myself, he took my book. I thought he took my book.
So,
Really, here's my copy. Okay, so let's hold them up together. Look at this. Yay!
there you go.
Okay, cheers. Okay, this book is called The Anxious Generation, and it's written by Jonathan Haidt. And this book is a must read if you are a parent of children of any age. Now, it's not very often that we're going to say, like, you should read this book. You should read this book. So this book talks about, he calls it the great rewiring of childhood. It's funny, there's like a image of here, like a little cartoon in here, and it's like this picture of this like cutie little boy. He looks like he's maybe like, he's 6. And the mom and dad are standing there, they're holding him a smartphone, and they're like, it's been so good spending one-on-one time with you and getting to know you over the last 6 years. Here's your smart device. So like basically they're saying like, okay, well, see you later, kid. But he talks about how play-based childhood was declining in the 1980s. So he has all this research. So starting in the 1980s, when we started getting more screens. So think about like, we got TVs and we got cable and we got
all the video games,
Betamax and VHS and all the video games, and how play-based childhood started declining in the 1980s to now, where he would define childhood as screen-based. Children have a screen-based childhood. And so like play, he says, was almost entirely wiped out by the early 2010s. And so he calls it like the great rewiring of childhood. And so he says that screens, I'll read a quote, the great rewiring of childhood has interfered with children's social and neurological development, covering everything from sleep deprivation, attention fragmentation, addiction, loneliness, social contagion, social comparison, and perfectionism. And so he lays out in here all these things. This is not an academic read. This is an easy read. But he just really makes a case for the damage that screens have done to our children. And it is quite compelling. It's quite compelling.
So what does he say about social media?
So he says that he talks about that girls are on social media more than boys, and that social media is highly damaging to girls. That girls, hop on social media and it becomes about comparison. We lack contentment in girls. You see striving for, attitudes of beauty and thinness and, all these different things. And so social media really is devastating our girls. It's devastating our girls.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so in the same way, it's like girls are devastated by it. And then boys, as a result of all the screens, have been withdrawing. There's like this withdrawal of young men where they are replacing real life adventure, like you just said, with screen-based adventure. So instead of being, going outside or learning a trade or conquering the world and meeting the girl and doing all the things, they are finding achievement in video games.
We want boys not to live their life in some simulation online. We want them to build and create and contribute. And at some point, the whole online, like building the Sim City kind of thing, rather than go build something in real life. Go create something in real life and not on a screen.
So he calls a screen-free childhood a humane childhood, and that's a pretty intense claim to say a truly humane childhood is one without screens. And I mean, I'm kind of in agreement.
Well, and we're not a screen-free family.
We're not totally
but we are a
screen-free.
screen-limited, screen-intentional family.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's one thing to think about, you know, if you're a family that has, you know, a smartphone in the hands of your young child, you know, it doesn't need to stay there. You can always pull back the reins. You can always make that a family phone that they use it only when they're going certain places. You can have a shared phone between siblings for texting and calling.
Did you say a flip phone even? Or like you don't have to have a smartphone.
Or you could be totally
You can have a dumb phone.
and have a landline.
There you go.
A landline. We do have a landline. I'm sure have I said this before, that we have a landline and the kids know our phone number. They know other people's phone numbers.
Yeah.
I actually just saw a thing on Instagram last week. It was like a article about that's kind of like the new trend, is that people are giving their kids landlines, and it's like the cutie like pink phone that you would use to call your friends. And so so that's our encouragement today, is
delay as long as you can.
Delay as long as you can, and
think through the why. And there needs to be a why.
Cell phones. Yeah.
All right. I think that does it for today.
That's all. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast. Please share this episode and give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts.